Hello, everybody. Glad to be back with you again this week. Lala and I have been a little busy. We went to Reno last week, of course, with the Spaced Out Radio. And while we were there, we met a few people, including our guest tonight. And sorry about last week. We had a really good guest, and I clicked the wrong button, and we didn't have a participation chat. Well, I fixed that, as you can tell. But now we're going to bring in our guest, Lee Strauss, who is joining us, and he is an experiencer who's had a few interesting experiences. And so, Lee, introduce yourself to our audience and tell us some about your story.
Well, my name is Lee Strauss. Just a normal guy. I've been working construction, the same construction company for 30 years, baptized Catholic. And let's just say my life was normal up to one point. And from that point, till now, it's been an incredible ride. I'll tell you that.
So when did you had an abduction, correct?
That is correct. Yes. So living in a house that I inherited from my grandparents, which is actually across from Maury Island, believe it or not. If you've ever heard of the Maury Island.
Oh yeah. Let's drop some hot metal while we're at
it. Yeah, right in my room, right? Well, one night, guys, I woke up and I wasn't in my room. I could see the floor. I was face down. I could see the floor. Not only that, but it was like a cold, dark space that I was in. I could see that there was light around me, but all I could look at was the floor and I could not move. So I was stuck in this position. The strangest thing, though, is that I could see my body on this table, but I could also see through my own eyes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that was the scariest thing that I have ever been through in my entire life. And what happened was I was watching my body on this table, and there was like this contraption above my body. It looked like something with a bunch of tubes coming down, all cylindrical in a mass. It looked like something from it looked like something from Superman, like in the ice castle when, he throws the thing, that crystal or whatever, and that all those tubes come up out of the ice. Well, this thing was coming out of the ceiling. And the longest tube, or the most farthest down extended tube, had a needle that came down out of that. And I was watching this and I'm freaking out on the table, just totally hysterical. But I still couldn't move my body. And I was watching this thing go lower and lower and lower over the back of my neck. And it finally got to the back of my neck, and I'm trying to make noise. I'm trying to move. And I have never been so frightened in my entire life. Just beyond words. And all of a sudden, the needle pops out of this thing and goes into the back of my neck. And the pain was excruciating, just absolutely excruciating. And then it was like this massive hand of God or something came around me and wrapped itself around me. This loving feeling that I cannot even begin to explain. It's not something you would be able to feel, in life or in your everyday life. There's no way. This loving feeling is just so intense and so magnificent that I could only describe it as the hand of God at that moment in time. And then I woke up in my bed. Now, I woke up in my bed and my neck hurt, right? And I still felt this loving feeling that I had, but it was like going away very quickly. Mm-hmm. And I reached around the back of my neck and there was this wetness on the back of my neck. And what also felt like sand or something, or grit, along with that. And I grabbed it like this and I was rubbing it in my hands. And I woke up my wife at the time. I said, "Hey, you need to look at the back of my neck. Something just happened to me." And I was, I was freaking out. I was really freaking out about it. And she looked at the back of my neck and she goes, "It looks like you've got some sort of strange puncture in the back of your neck."
Holy
And then I'm freaking out. My heart's just pounding away, pounding away, pounding away. And I'm like, how is this freaking possible? I'm a Catholic. I don't believe in this sort of
Right.
thing. I don't know where to put this in my reality. I don't know how to accept what happened to me. And so I just tried to push it away. But I kept reliving this incident in my mind, day after day, week after week, month after month. So I started to search for a group of contactees or abductees to try to figure out how to adjust myself and put this into my reality and understand what happened to me, because I didn't, and I didn't know what to do with it. So this began quite a journey for me, right? I found a group, like I said, I think it was about 2 years from the incident. And they were affiliated with Seattle UFO Network, loosely. So I went into this, group of other abductees, and I started telling my story along with them telling their story. And I was praying to God that, they would say, this didn't happen to you. It doesn't sound like an abduction. This must be something else. That's what I was hoping for. But that wasn't the case. They said, no, this is common. This is the sort of thing that happens when you get abducted. And of course, that just freaked me out even worse, trying to, understand and how to restructure my whole belief system around what happened to me. And, it was a very difficult time. They put me in touch with a therapist who used EMDR.
Okay.
Okay. And so she used that with me, trying to basically help me understand what happened to me and also how to integrate it into my life.
Yeah.
So that I wasn't so scared about it, and hopefully, ease that PTSD that I had with it.
Oh yeah. How did this affect? You said you're Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
Did it change your thoughts about it, or do you still feel the same, but you integrated that part of your life? And did it affect anything else, like your relationships or friendships?
It did all of that and more. It really affected my life. I basically started searching for evidence. When you get abducted, there's usually not a lot of evidence. And so the first thing I wanted to do was to try to dispel the stigma around what had happened to me and what has happened to other people. A lot of people, I think yourself included, have suffered from this sort of thing before. And my thing is, one of the things I like to do is I'm a photographer, right? In my free time, that's what I enjoy. I also enjoy videography. So I figured, well, I'll use the talent that I already have and the gift I already have to try to capture evidence of UFOs and the phenomena in the best way that I can, just to help dispel the stigma.
Right.
And that's what I've been doing basically for the last 11 years. When I was in therapy, I learned that this wasn't the first time this has happened to me. It actually started when I was really young.
Mm-hmm.
And stories that my parents had told me that I had discounted and not really thought about for a long time started to click for me and started to make sense.
Right.
So all of that stuff kind of just coalesced. And you know, it was just a journey for me, and it's still a journey. It you know, it hasn't ended. It's just continued for me. You know, trying to capture more and more evidence to show people that these things are real. You know, at least the craft in the sky are real. I have never caught an alien on film or anything like that, but the craft I have.
We have twice caught entity. That's the same entity. There were different cameras, so they look slightly different. One came through the front door. We got on video, and one she grabbed the camera out of my hand and took a picture right in front of us. And that 6 foot in front of us was a gray alien.
But it always has a weird fog around it, and it's distorted.
Yeah, I'm looking at the picture right now on our Alexa.
And
one
showed up as it had a head, neck, shoulders, but it was just light. It didn't have detail. And that one, that was interesting. And then it went to an orb and flew off after it moved her camera.
It dropped down as an orb, but the scene got really bright, and then you could see humanoid form. But while it was really bright, something reached up and grabbed our camera that we get everything on and turned it 30 degrees and pointed it toward almost due north, because it didn't like where we were pointing it. We haven't moved it since. So she also didn't think she was having anything and didn't know what it was. So she started telling me these quote dreams when we first got to know each other. And I went, oh, I told her, oh yeah, everything you're telling me is a common story in abduction experiences. How did you take that when I first told you? I don't recall.
They numb. When I have experiences, they numb me completely. So I won't talk about it or research it or anything. But you're the first person I've heard say something that I went through also. I saw myself laying on a table, but I also could see, but I mean, it was weird. And then I'd look at myself, it was just odd. So
yeah,
glad you said that.
Yeah, I don't know how they do that or why they do that. Maybe it's for disassociation, a purpose, you know, something like that to help disassociate yourself from what's going on in front of you. I'm not sure, but I felt every single thing that happened. I saw everything, you know, every single thing that happened to me. So it's not like they can pull you completely out, or they didn't pull me completely out. I was still attached in some way.
Right.
And the fear, I don't know if you felt the fear that I felt. I'm sure you did. I can only imagine you did. But yeah. It is unlike anything, you know, the fact that they can come and get you and you don't have a choice about it. They can take you whenever they want.
Right.
I mean, how do you deal with that? How do you take that and integrate that into your life? Right.
You'll lose your mind sometimes. It's crazy.
Exactly. I'm sure you guys get the vibration. You know what the vibration is, right? When they're, you know, they're coming, right?
Oh yeah. Even the dog knows.
The dog knows. She hears a tone in her ear or a vibration.
So, have you heard the wah noise?
I've heard that on the edge of sleep.
Yes,
multiple times.
What is it?
I don't know. I think it's something with their craft. You feel it, and you can kind of hear it. It's just this wah noise.
Yeah. Well, the vibration I feel right when I'm about to have a lucid dream or whatever you call OBE. So
yeah, but that's separate. It's for me, it's separate. Like the first thing is that I start getting nervous. Like if I know they're coming, I start getting nervous. My hands sweat. I start pacing if I'm up or awake.
That's her.
Yeah,
that happens to her. That definitely happens to her.
It's unnerving. It's an unnerving feeling knowing that you're not going to have a choice about what's going to happen to you. Yeah, it's terrifying. It's terrifying.
Who do you think you know who they might be, what type they might be, or why they're choosing you?
So, from what I understand from going through the EMDR and kind of experiencing everything over again through the EMDR, it seems like their purpose for me is to they test for things like, okay, what kind of chemicals is he being exposed to, even down to like what detergents is he putting in his clothes, because everything is absorbed through the skin. Right. And then they can collect that data through your bowel, at least the one time that I know about. So they are testing for what's in my environment and how that's affecting my body. My daughter is involved in that. They have taken her for different reasons from what I can understand.
How about your parents or siblings?
I'm sorry, by the way. Sorry.
Yeah, it's not good. But as far as my parents, I think it was my father and then my grandfather that were the ones.
So you're definitely a generational abductee.
Yes.
So mine are really, really different. So I had really bad illness before I was 1, had 3 near-death experiences because I was cardiac arrested before I recovered from my illness. And then strange things happened to me for the rest of my childhood. I woke up at 3 where my mother was, and all of a sudden I knew how to read. And when I was at 10, all of a sudden I was an electronics wizard. I got an amateur radio operator license, built a telescope, memorized Gray's Anatomy, started teaching science to my peers, and that just happened like overnight. And then, so I was the smartest kid in school from then until I graduated high school. And everybody thought I was going to be a medical doctor because I knew Gray's Anatomy from cover to cover. And so I went off to college and drove my girlfriend back home one weekend on a Friday, and we had an hour and a half of missing time. And both of us remember it. But 2 weeks after that, I changed schools, changed majors, and everything about my life became what I am today. They run your life. And so I don't remember the injection on the back of my neck, but finally whatever it was there grew large enough. I had them take it out, and you should see the scar on my back of my neck from where they took it out. And they wouldn't let me have it or see what was in it.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was just different. I think everybody's is slightly different.
Do you think you might be a hybrid?
I don't know that I'm a hybrid of any sort. I do know that my mother wasn't supposed to be able to conceive.
Mine either. Oh, and my dad had experiences too. Weird.
Yeah. So the fact that I was born was a miracle. I'm an only child.
Me too. Yeah.
So.
Are you O negative bloodline?
I am not.
Okay. I have a conspiracy. Well.
I do have Basque in my bloodline though, which is interesting.
Oh, so does she.
Oh my.
Oh yeah, so her mother and she all have Basque in their bloodline.
Interesting.
So it's kind of unusual. You're RH positive and Basque blood.
I'm glad you
but anyway, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, people need to hear this so they can learn, because it's very lonely going through this. But when
it's extremely lonely and it's extremely difficult. For me, for a while before I even got to my therapist, even after the first 2 sessions, I was borderline suicidal. I mean, it affected me that bad because everything that I had taught, was taught to believe and understand and worship God and all this stuff. And it just, it was like I was told a lie. That's how I felt. Like my whole life I was lied to.
Did it really adversely affect your faith?
Yeah, I would say it did. I don't go to church anymore. I still still believe in God, and I still worship God and all of that. But it is it's affected my faith as far as how devout of a Catholic I am.
Yeah, my father was a Methodist minister, so I had a faith-filled life from when I was young, and so I still believe. But I kind of hid all those experiences after my major change, and I went through school. I stayed this technical, mathematical, physics, computer science, and engineering thing for the next 50 years. And then I visited Chris Bledsoe after I saw UFO pictures while I was working for the government. And then a hitchhiker followed me home, and all of these remembrances came back.
Yeah.
So it triggered my memory. The hitchhiker followed me home, and here we are.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
Yes.
These things don't tell us anything about what they're doing with us.
Right. So somebody's asking about my grandfather and my father. They didn't tell me they were experiencers. It's just the fact of the things that they had experienced in their life led me to believe, from hearing stories from them, that they were also experiencers.
Okay.
My grandfather was a chief engineer for Boeing, and had to go to DC when there was a UFO flap going on, and take a bunch of photos. And I got to see. What's that?
In 1952?
I don't think it was 52. I think it was a little bit later than that. I would say early 60s, actually.
Okay. Well, there
What I would gather,
between the 50s and 80, there were a lot of flaps in the Northeast. But anyway, I just wondered which one.
Yeah.
What did he do for Boeing?
So he was a chief engineer for Boeing.
Oh, maybe worked on classified projects.
I think so.
Yeah.
So, he showed me some slides when I was, I don't know, must have been 14 or 15. He said, "Hey, I'll show you these, because these are crazy." And he showed me these light colored objects in the sky around DC and so forth. And I was like, wow, because you could see the monuments in the background and whatnot. And I was like, well, that's kind of, interesting hearing this and seeing this from my grandfather at a young age. At least I can reflect on that now, right? It's easier for me to reflect on it now than what I saw when I was younger. And he says, don't tell anybody that you saw this. And of course, what did I do? I went and told my neighbor friend about it, and he got pissed. My grandfather was really angry at me.
Oh,
because he wanted to come over and look at those slides as well. So yeah.
My grandfather was quite the photographer, and I kind of worshiped the ground he walked on. So if it hurt you like it would have hurt me, I bet it hurt for him to be angry with you.
Oh yeah. Was not a happy man.
When you go out and take photographs and videos, are you looking for the ones that abduct you? Or like internally, is this like a search for them kind of thing, or just any type of being?
Well, it seems to me that there must be some sort of a constant communication between myself and them, because they seem to show up a lot for me. I've got a lot of video and photographic evidence. So even if I'm not expecting to get any, like, even with my cell phone, if I'm taking pictures of, let's say, Mount Baker, which I often do, they show up out of 3 pictures, they show up in the center picture, and it's like, well, I didn't see anything at the time until I looked at the photo. Right. But I've also had, I've asked them to do things like flash in the sky and do those sorts of things for me, and they do. So I think there's, a constant communication going on there, even if I don't realize it, in the time that it's happening. They're picking up on my thoughts somehow.
So yeah. When I was with Bledsoe, that was the first demonstration I had where I saw what he had to have was telepathic communication. And I went, wow, that's wild. So then we saw these flashes. They were hiding in the trees. And right here, I said, ooh, I wish they would come up out of the trees where I could see them. And boom, right up in the sky they went and started flashing. So I had these two like ironclad solid pieces of proof to me personally that they were doing telepathic communication. Lee, what is your profession?
So I've been working for the same construction company for 30 years.
Nice. Yeah, you're kind of my generation. I worked for the same place for decades.
Yeah. The one piece of evidence that I got that's totally amazing is I'm asking them to flash in the sky, at 3 separate times, and they do it 3 separate times.
Wow.
And I've got it on film. You can hear my voice, tell them to do something, and they do it. I mean, it's just incredible, right? So
that's my favorite thing. We'll be seeing stuff, and we'll be getting it on camera. And I say, talk to them, tell them to do something. She'll say, go right, go left, and they do.
Where can people see these videos of yours?
People can go on. Yeah, there's 2 places on YouTube. Well, they can also see them on Facebook too. If you look up Ander and Lee on the Trail on Facebook or YouTube. Ander and Lee on the Trail. So
I saw that page. You need to tell us who Andrew is too when you get a chance.
Oh yeah, he's my partner, right? So basically, he's my spotter. So when we're out in the field and I've got my camera equipment all set up, I'll have him with a laser, and he'll be out there, and he'll be like, "Well, I see something moving over here, right?" So then I can swing my camera around and capture stuff that way.
Very cool.
Remind me later to point out this friend that Lala I have in Florida. Man, you should see the stuff he gets every night. It's amazing. Yeah. I'll point him out to you later so you can see it. So yeah, I just for me personally, I'm happy to get what we're getting, and I want to tinker around a little bit, but I'm not trying to get the kind of evidence that I could give to a scientist to try to do science, because I understand the limitations on what we can do at home. We can't quite do what we would need to do to make it really useful scientifically. That and having to store it in a place where it would have wide access would be expensive. So I got to figure out how to do these things with groups before I do more.
Yeah, for me, it's been, it started out with one camera, right? One night vision camera, and it's just exploded. I mean, I've got full spectrum. I've got, just a myriad of different types of night vision and, Sony cameras and all kinds of different things. My FLIR, I mean, just you name it. I've tried to purchase just so that I can capture as much evidence as I can.
Right.
Yeah. So we got a FLIR attachment for my iPhone. Let's see if I can make this show up. This is my Psionics offset. I love that thing. This is an offset though. It's like, wow. It really is just amazing camera. That was the first one I recorded a triangle on. And then we have one video up on YouTube where we went out I was sitting there fiddling, and I says, I think we need to go outside. So she walked in and said, we were just like at the same time said we needed to go out. So we went outside. It was 15 minutes of one thing after another. So much so people accuse us of taking a video of bugs, but it's not bugs.
Yeah, that's what happens too. I've noticed that. Like, how people say, how do you get so lucky capturing what you're capturing? How is that even possible when, I've gone out, 60 times and I never see anything? And I don't have an answer for those people.
No, neither do we.
Why it is that people like ourselves get as much evidence as we do. It almost is like we're faking it or something. But why would we fake that? Right. What would be the reason for that? You know what I mean?
We're not getting anything.
No. I know the one kind of communications which she got was we want you to help us by doing soft disclosure. Just show people what you've got, and that's what we're doing.
Exactly.
Since you've had all this experience with the aliens, has the paranormal world been around you more too, like spirits and other things, or just?
There's Tim.
Tim, yes. Yeah, you don't need 50x binoculars. 7x is about the most you can use.
Yeah, exactly. Or else you're looking through a straw at the sky. Yeah. I've always had paranormal stuff around me ever since I was a little kid. Ever since I can remember, just odd things like a bookshelf falling over and the books landing on my bed. Just weird stuff like that. I just kind of grew up like, well, that's just common stuff. It's not, anything like high strangeness or whatnot. But I definitely in my grandparents' house that I inherited, there was more than the average. You were talking about an orb that you saw that changed into an alien. One morning I got up and there was a grapefruit-sized orb in my living room that was blue.
Oh,
Wow.
And as soon as I saw it, it noticed that I saw it. And it was like, oh, okay. And it went right through the ceiling.
Yeah.
And
That's
that was
amazing.
the one really bright orb I saw was sitting in my living room, sitting in my recliner looking at television, and right over here on the chair next to me, this orb just suddenly appeared in the middle of the air, and it was really bright. It was brighter than the sun per pixel, if you will. And it
Wow.
sat there and did its little thing, and boom, it disappeared. But man, oh man, that was a deal.
yeah.
I personally think that people that are abducted like us, like you said, we're constantly watched, there's something always around us, whether it's a spirit or an alien. I think, and they can read our minds, like you said. I think we're connected much more than we'll ever realize while we're alive here on Earth.
I would agree with that. As far as communicating with them, when I did the EMDR, the way that they communicate was interesting. It's like they almost use all 5 senses to communicate with me. It's much more of a rounded and fulfilling communication. It's not like they're using words. It's just an absolute knowing of exactly what they're trying to say to you. It in such a short amount of time, you can understand so much more, and that's always stuck with me. Like, this is the way it should be, this is the way that we should communicate with other humans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no way, to me, it sounds or it feels like there's no way to lie, in that kind of framework, and everything would work so much better here if we all communicated that way. So,
Well, I think speech is just slow and inefficient and too easily error prone.
exactly.
Yeah.
Can you tell us? I always ask everybody, can you tell us a story of the most extreme or scariest experience, paranormal or whatever, alien, doesn't matter. I'd like to hear about the story.
Okay. So that whole thing with me on the table, that was probably the scariest thing. But I was asking, and I asked for quite a number, I wouldn't say years, but number of months, that I wanted to be awake and totally cognizant when they came to get me. I was asking for it and asking for it and asking for it. Well, I got it.
Oh my gosh.
Ooh,
So what happened? Yeah, exactly. So what happened was one night I started to feel the vibration when I was laying in bed, and I knew, and I could tell that one of them was standing right behind me. And I'm like, yep, this is the time I've been asking for, right? And I turned over and there was a gray about this far from my face. And I looked right in its eyes, and it was like the understanding that I got was, no, we're not going to let you have control of your body, because I think they come in threes because of the fact that they have like some sort of a protocol to where, they don't want to get hurt or whatever the case may be. So as soon as I got that kind of intention or from them that, we have to have control. We can't just allow you to, be awake and take you. I started getting numb from my feet on up my legs, up my torso, up my body, up my arms. And then as soon as that numbing and got to about where my eyes were, I just blacked out.
Mm-hmm.
But turning around and seeing that right there, that was pretty dang terrifying.
Oh yeah. I would have passed out, definitely.
You got what you wished for, and oopsie.
Yeah.
Especially blacking you out, and you realize you're being blacked out.
Yep, exactly.
Did they have a wand, or did they just do it with their eyes?
It was the eye contact. I never, I've never seen a wand. I never have. I don't know anything about, hybrids as far as I know, I've never been a part of any of that stuff. The purpose they've taken me for, and from what I can tell, is just the fact they want to know, what's affecting my body, what is in the area, what is, like deodorant, those sorts of things, how I'm being affected by my environment.
What can you describe the face that you saw when it was so close to you?
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
So big black eyes. I mean, that's what I saw, was big black eyes, right?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't totally dark in my room, but I could tell it was just this inky blackness in the eyes. And, it looked like a typical gray. I've got a picture book over here.
Okay.
I can grab real quick.
Yeah, sure.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Some drawings I've drawn over the years of things. Let's see.
I wish more people would do that.
So this is basically what was in my face.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
So
And it
you
was
couldn't
kind of
see
like
any
this.
nares or mouth, just eyes.
Yes. Yep. Exactly. But I remember it kind of being gaunt here.
Can you
And
show other pictures that you did?
what's that?
Can you show the other pictures that you drew?
Sure. Like, so, once on board, there's typically, what's that?
No, I was laughing. Once you're bored, this isn't a boring
once I'm
life.
on board,
This is not a boring life.
there's one guy that I typically see, or who's there always when I get greeted, and that's this guy here.
Well, that's nicer looking eyes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, blue. Not the typical, like the guys that come get me with the black eyes.
Yeah.
And I get the feeling that they put something in their eyes, like drops, and it makes a film over their eyes that they can peel away later.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, that's what I get from them. Like what I understand from them is that when they're here or when they're in the dark, on Earth, they put something in their eyes so that they either it's sunlight or light or something, or the ability to see better in the dark.
Okay.
Oh, I see. So maybe it's some kind of night vision aid.
Have you had a lot of missing time?
You know what? Everything, all the times that I've ever been taken have always been at night. I've never had anything happen in the day that I remember.
Okay.
So I can't say that I've, ever recollect having missing time.
That's interesting, actually.
Do you ever have overflight by things that look like helicopters?
I've never seen something that's not a helicopter. Well, you say helicopters, but
I mean, that looks suspicious to you, like too low, unmarked, that kind of thing.
no. Mm-mm.
Yeah, we had that here, and in one of those, we had missing time.
Interesting.
We had 3 videos on our security camera in a row. One, we were talking and yapping. The one in the middle, we were silent, but the helicopter flew over, and we have zero memory of it. Though it was loud enough, it would have woke up the entire neighborhood. And the video right after that, we were back to talking, and the helicopter was gone. And this was in like a 3 or 4 minute period.
Wow. Yeah.
Tim said the so-called alien autopsy film showed them removing a film from the alien's eyes.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is. I mean, all of us have gone through so much similar things, but so very different also. And I think they do that so that we don't really understand what's going on. We're kind of left in the dark, so they don't want us to know everything, I feel.
Yeah, and I think it's obvious to me that they take people for different purposes,
Yeah.
So we're not all taken for the same reason. One of the thoughts that I got is that somewhere in the past that they've been engineered, I guess, or their DNA was changed, or they changed their DNA, and they lost a lot of things that we hold in ourselves, like the ability to enjoy art and music and those sorts of things. And it's very possible that they're trying to reintegrate that sort of thing back into themselves.
That's interesting.
So you said you and your partner had an upcoming expedition. What are you guys doing?
Well, we're going to Eastern Washington. So I've got what's called the Procast rig, which is production and my casting rig. I just hook up to, I've got a satellite dish, the SpaceX satellite dish, right? And then I'm able to broadcast live. So I'll be doing that this weekend. So I'll have several cameras out in the field, and I'll be broadcasting live from, I think, about 7 or 8 o'clock to like 10, 11.
I have a question that you don't have to answer, but I'm just wondering, have you and your daughter ever shared an experience or abduction that you know of?
Yeah, I've got visuals of that.
Ooh. Well, share what you can.
So in with my daughter, I see her sitting on the floor, and they've got these blocks and balls and these sorts of things. And there's small grays there, like infant grays, young grays with my daughter. And they seem maybe they're the same age or whatever like that. And they're manipulating these blocks and balls in the air, like, moving around and turning and this sort of thing.
Is she psychic? Sorry.
Huh?
I asked if she was psychic. I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
I have no idea
if
she is at all. But it's like, for me, I don't like talking about my daughter, like, thankfully nobody really knows who I am, because I don't even use my real name on here because of the stigma, and because of work, and because of my daughter, of course. So
no, I was just more, yeah.
No, that makes sense. Yeah. So I kind of hid for 3 or 4 years until I finally retired. And once I retired, I didn't care who knew my name or not.
Exactly. And that's the way I'll be as well. But, for the last 11 years, I've been Lee Strauss on Facebook because, I can't allow, this sort of stuff to affect my company, that I've been working for the last 30 years. Yeah.
I'm not really Lala Bright. My parents always call me Lala, but that's not really my name. I got to protect my little guy, and I run a business on the side. So I definitely get it because, people aren't 100% on board with people like us, what we've been through.
Yeah. And you don't want that to affect your children either, right? In school, in college, or whatever the case may be. You just, that's a parent's worst fear, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Tammy, I haven't seen this book. Have you seen this book, Lee, about David Chase? A little picture of all sketches on all the aliens?
I have not.
I have not seen it.
Okay, we have about 10 minutes left, and you can discuss anything if you want to bring up something or talk about anything. We have a little bit of time left, and also where people can find you, Facebook or Twitter, anything like that.
Yes, tell everybody about your Facebook page at least.
Of course. Well, you'll find me at Lee Strauss on Facebook, and also Andrew and Lee on the Trail on Facebook, as well as on YouTube. Also, Not of This Earth on YouTube as well. I have a lot of videos there as well. But we also do episodes and expeditions. We produce those, and then we put those up on Andrew and Lee on the Trail on Facebook or YouTube as well. One kind of interesting anecdote I'll talk about with this phenomenon is there was an occasion where I was pulled up on the craft, and I remembered smelling vinegar and ammonia.
Interesting.
The smell of vinegar and ammonia on the craft. And I remember I was very disoriented when getting on board, that I got sick and threw up. And what I understood was, humans do not have control of their bodily functions, and they were upset about that.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
I mean, they should know better. Come on. They know how we are.
I mean, yeah, it's not like we have that much control. If we're going to get sick, we're going to get sick. But
yeah.
Okay, Bones asking Bones asking your favorite question.
So what?
How outside the realm have we been kept?
What does that mean exactly?
You talk about realms all the time. How outside of whatever realm we're supposed to be in have we been kept?
I don't think what we're taught about where we live is anything close to what's really going on, personally. What do you think?
We're definitely kept in the dark for sure, and I think this world, this universe that we're in is much stranger than anybody has any idea about. I don't think time is as linear as we perceive it to be.
Oh no.
Definitely
not.
I think there's a lot more going on than we have any idea. And part of my research is trying to figure that out as well. Because a lot of these craft I'll capture on film around volcanoes, like Mount Baker, Mount Adams.
Mm-hmm.
And like you guys, I took a camera out in my backyard. Well, I got a new night vision camera. I took it out in the backyard, and what shows up? I got two of them in the sky doing weird stuff in the sky. Just, you just go out there and look. It's like you're not necessarily being called. You just know that you need to go out there and look, right? And something's there. I remember my first incident seeing a UFO. That's what it was like. I was watching the History Channel or something, and I think it was not Ancient Aliens. It was way before, many years before that. And I was like, I wonder if I go outside on the deck right now, if I'll see a ship or something. And I went out on deck, and sure enough, there was. And that was in Linwood, Washington. And that was a big Delta-shaped craft.
I almost went to work in Linwood for the Advanced Electronics Applications Company. I really, really wanted to, but in the end, it didn't work out. I would have loved to have lived there. And I had a friend who lived with Mount Baker out his back window. It's beautiful.
How many crafts do you think you've seen in your life so far?
Structured craft, I've probably seen 4 or 5 structured craft. The rest have been luminescent.
Mm.
When was the last time you can remember you were abducted?
There's a difference between knowing you've been taken.
You actually remember.
Yeah. Knowing that I've been taken, it's probably been about 2 years. The feeling that I had been taken has probably been about a month.
Yeah, so Richard Dolan's on his podcast a lot lately, people are claiming abductions have stopped, and you and we agree with Richard, abductions have not stopped. If anything, they're increasing in frequency.
Yeah, I'll wake up with a brain fog and feeling like I'm not connected to myself in some way. I feel like I'm above myself, watching myself do things, but still seeing through my eyes. It just feels like I'm totally disconnected from myself.
Yeah, so I started wearing a mask at night, and then I will wake up seeing clearly the room through the mask, but I'll also see other things in the room with me that I can clearly see through the mask that I don't see when I'm outside of the mask looking with my eyes rather than my mind sight.
Did you ever think about you hosting a group to help help people that have gone through this? Because you, like, just talking to you, I feel more validated because I don't share everything I've gone through. Have you thought about starting your own group to help people?
That was my thought, is that, I would love to talk with other abductees and tell them my story and have them tell me their story and let them know that, you can deal with the situation that you've been put in. Mm-hmm. And, there's ways to integrate it into your life, even though it's extremely hard and you have to rebuild your ideas of reality from scratch. But it's doable, right? I mean, I have often thought about that, but being in the group that I was in with the other abductees, I found that there was quite a few people that were just extremely terrified and did not want to go through any type of therapy because they didn't want to necessarily see everything that happened to them. They were just so scared that I think dealing with those individuals, I am not equipped. I wouldn't want to talk with anybody that would then, just like myself, take that information that the other abductees told me and then possibly go commit suicide because now they believe it's real. I'm not a therapist, yeah, I think they need professional help.
Yeah.
Kathleen Martin, who is Betty and Barney Hill's niece and was the experiencer resource team lead for MUFON for years, recently wrote another book called Extraterrestrial Contact. And people need to read that if they're looking for information and looking for help, etc., because she insists on caution and gives lists of resources that are safe to contact. So, and she is a superstar. She really is all about the experiencers, especially given she grew up with Betty and Barney Hill in her life, and her family, including Betty and her, that's a generational abductees as well.
Yeah. I mean, if somebody was, had already integrated that into their life and they wanted to reach out and talk to me about, about it, I would be happy to talk to them. But you know, for somebody that's just happened to, I'm not the person to talk to. They need to seek professional help first.
Yeah, somebody who's dealing with this regularly.
Yeah, I had Dr. Janet Coley was my therapist out here in Seattle. Great lady.
Yeah, our regressionist was a licensed therapist.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I just wanted to thank you for coming on so much. This was really nice, very helpful. And I know other people that listen to this, it's going to help. I just know.
This was really fruitful for information, letting people see your face and so forth. I'd like for you to come back sometime when we can arrange it, and let's arrange for you to show what evidence you have, and we will do a sharing of evidence back and forth.
Sure.
So, because we have a ton of stuff, and we have not done that yet on our own show. So let's just do it. All right, man. We'll contact you. Thank you for being on. We want to thank everybody for being on with us, and we look forward to being on with you next week. We'll tell you who we got coming up shortly. Lee, thank you very much. It was great to see you in Reno.
It was nice seeing you guys too. Thanks very much for having me on your show.
Bye, everybody.